Hello and good evening to you. Welcome to News 360 and it's live on news up here at this hour in Kanda. My name is Alfred Okansi.
I'm Natalie Ford to look at the top stories this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by Deluxe Paint, Heaven Black Mosquito Coil and Spray,
Premier Health Insurance, Calipo, and Nido Fortigro. Your love, their future.
Electoral Commission sets December 27, 2018 for referendum on creation of 6 new regions.
And former President John Mahama to contest NDC primaries.
Also ahead this evening as Santehene makes historic visits to Chebi.
NADMO can only manage effects of floods from Bagre Dam on people and agriculture, according to Director of Communications.
And on the international front, Ugandan pop star MP charged with treason.
We'll bring you details of these and more tonight here on News 360. Remember, we're live on DSTV channel 279 all across the world, on TV3 Ghana, on Facebook. We're highly interactive tonight on various social media platforms. Feel free to join us. Our first story this evening, the Electoral Commission has set December 27, 2018 for the referendum on the creation of 6 new regions. Before this, the Commission will embark on a series of activities, including the registration of new and continuous voters, the exhibition of the voters' register, as well as processes for the transfer of votes and or the grant of proxy votes. This was the outcome of today's Inter-Party Advisory Committee, that's IPAC, meeting with the Electoral Commission. Let's still stay on this particular issue. I've been joined on the telephone by Eric Jakpasu, who is the Director of Communications at the Electoral Commission. But before we go there quickly, the Electoral Commission of Ghana has suspended with immediate effect the printing, we're told, of the online portal registration. That's to enable them implement the online portal registration. That's the printing of the voter ID card. The Commission says this is to enable them to implement an online portal registration system. And it's also set, as we've been told, December 27, 2018 for the referendum. And now let's see if we have Eric Japasu on the line, who is Head of Communications at the Electoral Commission. Mr. Japasu, if you can hear me, good evening to you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Good evening.
Thank you for your time this evening. First of all, let me find out what exactly necessitated your decision to suspend with immediate effect the printing of voters' ID cards.
Thank you very much. We have to suspend the issuance of the replacement voter ID card to those who have either misplaced or defaced or damaged their ID cards, because we are mobilizing all the VMS kits. The equipment we use for the registration, for the online registration. We are mobilizing them and we are retooling them for the scheduled limited voters registration exercise, which is going to take place in the carved out areas for the referendum to create 6 additional regions, as well as for the continuous voters registration, which will be an exercise on a nationwide basis.
I see, but we have just about 4 months, I mean, all other things being equal, for the this particular referendum on the creation of 6 new regions to take place. Is it enough time for you to do the retooling and the preparation as is expected or needed for a smooth exercise on December 27?
Yeah, it's a very tight schedule, but I think it's enough for us to roll out the activities and have the referendum on the 27th of December.
I see. So when do you, I mean, for those who probably still would want to replace lost voter ID cards, you suspended the process. When do you intend to activate it again before December 27 so they can partake in the referendum?
That will be done after we are finished with the limited registration exercise. That is the continuous voters registration exercise. And reference to our press release, we said it will be announced in due course after we have finished the continuous exercise.
Very well. Mr. Japasu, thank you for your time. Good evening to you.
Most welcome.
Great. Eric Japasu is the head of communications at the Electoral Commission.
It's more the news this evening. Former President John Dramani Mahama is set to contest the NDC's flag bearership race ahead of the 2020 presidential elections. A delegation of former appointees led by former Ghanaian ambassador to the United States, Daniel Ohene Ejekum, presented the letter of intention to the party headquarters earlier today. Here's reports by Bright Jaka.
The former president's declaration on Thursday brings the number of people who are seeking to lead the party to 10. 9 other persons have already written to the party officially to inform it about their intention to lead the party for the 2020 presidential elections. Even before the John Mahama campaign team would arrive at the NDC headquarters to declare his intention, some members had gone agog. Former Ghanaian ambassador to USA, Daniel Ohene Ejekum, who led a crack team of party apparatchiks, announced a John Mahama comeback.
Our profound commitment to building a stronger party capable of providing effective leadership and direction in our bid to recapture power.
Receiving the letter, the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, commended the former president for following the laid-down procedures and also cautioned that campaigns should be run on the wings of unity, devoid of insults.
Even as we undertake these processes, our key opponents will do everything to throw some sand in our garage. So we must open our eyes very well, and when we see signs of those things happening, we must nip them in the bud.
A former Deputy Education Minister in charge of Tertiary and NP for North Tong constituency, Samuel Kujetua Blakwa, was optimistic of an emphatic victory for John Mahama.
God has helped us to be able to compare a President Mahama governance and a President Akufo-Addo governance, and the difference is clear. President Akufo-Addo has offered us what has been a litany of failed promises.
The former president, later in a video uploaded to his Facebook wall, explained he could not have ignored calls from the grassroots.
And I believe I owe a duty to God and my country to take our great party back into government, to right the wrongs of the past, and to put an end to the cries of the people under the current dispensation. The 2020 election presents our party, the NDC, with a great opportunity to offer yet again visionary leadership driven by a commitment to create opportunities for all our people, not just a few.
Let's still stay on this. And Dr. Edward Benya is a senior political science lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He joins me on the telephone. Dr. Benya, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening.
Now, first of all, how would the candidature of John Mahama help in addressing the problems that have been unearthed in the NDC, especially when some say that he is part of the problem itself?
Good evening to the able listeners of TV3. I think that one thing is clear. The long speculated announcement is now finally out. Whether or not John Mahama was going to be a candidate for, one of the aspiring candidates to lead the party in 2020 is clear now. John has spoken. Everybody knows that he's going to be one of them. His candidature, yes. Many may want to say that he was part of the problem. The Kosiboche report, per what we heard when the NDC was going around to the grassroots to unite them, if indeed that was coming from the Kosiboche report, then I would want to say that if we saw the support that greeted John Mahama as he went around with that unity walk, then we would want to say that with the grassroots, something might have been done. And therefore, it would take the NDC as a political party, it would take the grassroots, it would take whoever emerged as the flag bearer to be sold properly by the party
so that the party can't fight a good fight with the ruling NDC. So I think that it only goes to show the internal democracy in NDC and the fact that anybody who is eligible and wishes to stand to vote or be voted for should be given the chance. And I think that's just what happened.
Oh, there are many who say that this unity work you refer to, depending on the lenses that you wear, did not really do much in uniting the front of the party. And considering the number of people who have actually come up to contest him, it's not a clear reflection that there is indeed a lot more work to be done if the John Mahama's candidature is going to be marketed well for the NDC.
That is why I said, you see, it is one thing for a candidate to declare his intention. It's the other for those that crowns the individual to be the flag bearer of the king, if I want to use that euphemism, to either to show their support. If indeed the electorate, the kingmakers, if they feel that John Mahama is the one they want to present in 2020, that will come clear when they go for the elections, right? When the election is done, if John Mahama emerges as the winner, or Agbambabin, or Spio Gabra, or any of the people that has expressed interest, if any of them emerges as the choice of the people, I think it will be embedded on the rank and file of the NDC to rally behind that candidate and market the candidate well so that they can contest 2020. But I feel that is a right that John Mahama is entitled to John Mahama. He went for one term. The Constitution does give him the chance to go for another term, and it's declared his intention, and that is how I'm looking at it.
I see, but finally, in political campaigning, it's three things. It's either you're campaigning on your own legacy, that is, if you have ever been in power in the case of John Mahama, or the legacy of someone in your party who has been in power, or you campaign on the failures and mistakes of your incumbent, that is, your opponent in an election. Or in the third case, you present a better plan superior to the incumbent in power. In all of these three, assuming John Mahama should lead the party, how difficult will it be to market him, taking these three components into consideration?
I think if the NDC work very well, the NDC can actually do a good job by bringing all three together. One, the MPP campaign on the lapses, corruption, incompetence, and all the things against John Mahama. Few years of the MPP, we've seen the very things that John Mahama was accused of in the MPP administration. One. Two, Mahama comes out and Mahama is probably, if he emerges and he put up a plan that can be sold well, that promises to give some relief to Ghanaians. That would be the second one. And on what he did in the past, I think it depends. There are a lot that Mama or the NDC did within the last 8 years that they could actually point to, depending on what you said, where you stand. So I think that the NDC can blend all three and use it effectively to market John Mahama, should John Mahama emerge as a candidate.
Dr. Brenya, thank you for your time this evening.
You're most welcome.
Dr. Edward Brenya is a senior political science lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
Very well. Now, the Deputy General Secretary of the Opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, in charge of operations, Koku Anidohu, says he still stands by his comments, which was considered by some as treasonable, noting the Ghana Police Service dropped all charges against him because his comments were taken out of context. The Ghana Police Service has dropped all charges against Koku Anidohu after the Attorney General and Minister of Justice said it was not interested in the case.
I'm not going to claim any heroic status out of what happened. I take it in my stride. I was working for my party. I thought that I was speaking based on conviction, wanting to protect the sanctity of the state. Somehow, it wasn't heard the way I wanted it to be heard. Due process was followed, and so if it's over, we give thanks to God. Let's move on.
And we are still moving on now to the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations. They've demanded an apology from the minority leader, actually the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, for comments he passed against former Communications Minister Edward Omane-Boamah. At a press conference in Accra, they indicated that his comments are not only demeaning, but morally degrading for persons living with disabilities.
Alban Bagbin is reported to have told party communicators in the Volta region that former President John Mahama made a bad decision by appointing Dr. Edward Omane-Boamah as Communications Minister because he stammers. However, the Ghana Federation of Disabilities Organization have vehemently opposed comments made by the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin. Speaking at a press conference, the president of the Ghana Stammering Association, Elias Apreko, said people with disability are intellectually sound and so should not be looked down upon by society.
Just imagine, little ones, coming up who want to become like him, who want to become like Dr. Omane-Boamah. Then it discourages them that because I have a stammer, Mr. Bagbin is saying that I cannot be a communicator. We find unfortunate. We want him to apologize to us and we want him to retract the statement.
The executive director of the Ghana Blind Union, Dr. Peter K. Obin Asamoah, also said disabled people are supposed to be encouraged and not discouraged by those they look up to.
We feel that somebody of his political stature should know better. Because if you are telling us that somebody who has a visual disability or somebody who has a speech disability is the reason why a political party loses popularity, then we have a big problem there. We expect him to be looking at competencies and abilities. We feel that is very discriminatory and very discouraging, and indeed, we as persons with disability are very disappointed.
They are therefore demanding that the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament apologizes to all Ghanaians for his unsavory comment.
The Minister for Inner Cities and Zongo Development, Mustafa Hamid, says he will work vigorously with Zongo authorities to establish a foundation to transform the Zongos in the country. He was speaking at the two-day tour of some selected Zongo communities and inner cities in the Greater Accra region.
The tour was to accord the sector minister the opportunity to acquaint himself with the development and programs being undertaken by the ministry in some Zongo communities. At Medina, the sector minister, Dr. Mustafa Hamid, called on the Zongo chief, Baba Seidu, and the heads of various ethnic groups in the community, urging them to establish a foundation to transform Zongo communities in the country. He reiterated government's commitment to develop and support residents of Zongos through Zongo development funds.
These astroturfs that we are building in inner cities is a way to create a condition, or if you want, a place, for breeding talent, so that after school hours, there's a place for children to go to congregate, not only to play, but also to learn. So as I said, my vision moving forward, to add to what my brother Boniface has already done, will be also to attach libraries and reading places to these astroturf centers.
The minister later moved to Zura Community Park in the Medina Lankwantanani municipality, where the chief executive officer of the Wembley Construction Company, Robert Coleman, took the minister around to inspect the facility.
In Islam, there's a saying that he who has no sheikh will have the devil as his sheikh. In other words, if you don't have a mentor, the devil will mentor you. So it is the reason why you find inner city young people doing Sakawa and the rest of them. But if they have mentors, if they have sheikhs that they are all attached to, that they are looking up to, we can solve all of that problem.
The chief executive officer of the Wembley Construction Company, Robert Coleman, said he believes government's initiative to build one astroturf in every constituency will help unearth talent.
Our major aim is to ensure that the one constituency, one artificial project comes off. And I am extremely excited and very grateful to government that what we started propagating, government has bought into the idea, and government thinks that we need to have these facilities in the various communities.
It's live here on News 360. Let's go on to our citizen journalist for today and our MTN video report.
This is the teachers' bungalow of Afaude DA Primary School in the North Town district. All the teachers who used to live in this bungalow have left due to the nature of the building. Teachers left due to the bad smell that comes out of this room. The rooms are all spoiled. We are pleading to the government and through the district assembly to come and help us renovate the bungalow. This is your citizen journalist, Edu Daniel.
So send your MTN video report to 055-1433-044, 055-1433-044. So live here on News 360. There's more after this break. Don't go away.
Hello, good evening. Still News 360, time for business. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa. A human resource expert has cautioned players in the banking sector not to contradict the labor laws in recent incidences of job cuts in the banking sector. Group head of human resource at Databank, Yvonne Redu Akpabli, says the labor law is clear on modalities for job cuts.
The Bank of Ghana, as part of measures to sanitize the banking space, has collapsed 7 banks due to liquidity challenges. This move also came with some job losses, as most of the employees of these collapsed banks have been asked to go home, while others from the consolidated bank are to follow soon after a 3-month probation period. In an exclusive interview with TV3 Business on the sidelines of the HR in Ghana breakfast session, the group head of human resource at Databank, Yvonne Redu Akpabli, said though these job cuts are synonymous with the latest rationing in the banking sector, the various players should not contradict the provisions of the law.
For best practice, most of these decisions, the conversations always start with HR. And then it also depends on the company's policy as well as our labor law. The issue is that terminations or cutting down shouldn't have legal implications for the company. It shouldn't send the company to court. It shouldn't also bring a stalemate between the exiting employee and the company.
She believes HR practice in Ghana has more potential that can contribute to job security in the country.
This is a good time for us as practitioners to also show and demonstrate our knowledge of our businesses, contribute to the bottom line, not just talk about people and empathize, because sometimes HR calls for tough decisions, telling somebody it is time to go after you've done all that it is required by best practice.
Again, human resource experts are making a strong case for a change in the country's educational curriculum to meet the changing demands on the job market. The Chief Executive Officer of Jobberman Ghana, Geoffrey France, laments that the disconnect has become a major challenge.
The Human Resource in Ghana breakfast session is a gathering of human resource experts from the corporate environment to discuss the latest trends in employment and job security. Speakers at the event expressed concern about the absence of diversity in the educational system, which makes the graduates relevant on the job market. The event, themed Managing Millennials in the Changing Work Landscape, emphasized the need for government to consult stakeholders on ways of bridging the gap. CEO of Jobberman Ghana, Geoffrey France, says this has become the major challenge in placing young people in the job market.
What we've discovered is the gap which is between them is experience. So the corporate world is not too happy about what is being churned out by academia, that's from the schools, and the schools are not changing much of their curriculum to suit what the corporate world is in.
He advised job seekers to take up internship programs in preparing themselves for the demands in the corporate environment.
Where we're encouraging every student to at least have 3 months of internship for every year of their study in the university. So 3 months times the 4 years of degree university education, you have 12 months of internship, which is a job experience. You have an additional 1 year of national service, and you have 2 years work experience, which then boosts your CV and your potential to get employed. Internships also gives corporate agencies, recruiters, a real feel of what you can deliver, what you bring to bear.
The session is a partnership between Media General and Jobberman Ghana.
And President of Group Indum, Dr. Parkwisi Indum, wants mobile money and other digital payment systems ownership to be placed more in the hands of Ghanaians. He called on Parliament and the Bank of Ghana as they finalize the Payment Systems and Services Bill to ensure they leave room for Ghanaian ownership.
MTN Ghana first introduced mobile money service to the Ghanaian market 9 years ago in 2009. Initially, the service did not catch up well with the Ghanaian populace. By 2014, only 13% of Ghanaian adults own a mobile money account. But now, the story is different. Latest data from the central bank show that the registered number of mobile money accounts increased from 21.3 million in June 2017 to 29.99 million in June 2018. This means registered mobile money accounts across the 3 major telcos have for the first time outstripped the country's total population, a development that portends future growth in the mobile money space. At a lecture organized by today's newspaper on the mobile money service, stakeholders deliberated on how challenges in the sector can be overcome.
To get into the American money and banking industry if you are non-American, very, very tough. Those who dominate are the American firms. What about Ghana? And so this is one area where regulatory means can be applied to ensure that we have Ghanaian participation in this area.
Other speakers lauded the surge in mobile money usage, noting that mobile money has deepened financial inclusion and has brought millions who were not banked into the banking and formal financial sector.
We've introduced new channels, the QR codes, the NFC, and you can also use the normal USSD. We are working on an IVR such that those who cannot use the USSD can just use their voice in doing the mobile money transaction to pay.
Move money from your bank account to another bank account, move money from someone and pay. So now we talk about speed and convenience. Even in the banking sector, mobile money is doing that.
Remember, you can visit 3news.com for more business news. That will do for tonight. My name is Nanikia Mensah-Brampa. Alfred.
Thank you, Nanikia. With business. Now, the Ghana National Association of Teachers has suspended its intended strike after it received over 9 million cedis as its second-tier pension funds. The amount released by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, is expected to be used to pay pensioners at the end of the month and also the end of the year. General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, David Ofori-Champong, spoke exclusively to our labor correspondent, Daniel Opoko in Accra.
Last week, the leadership of NAT served a 72-hour notice to strike, while demanding the release of its second-tier pension funds. The association accused the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, of withholding the amount in Temporary Pension Fund account, TPFA, at the Bank of Ghana. After deliberations between NAT, other teacher unions and the NPRA, some 9 million cedis has been released to the teachers. The amount has been channeled through the Health Occupational Pension Scheme of the teachers to be invested for enhanced benefits. General Secretary of NAT, David Ofori-Champong, said other discussions about arrears are yet to be concluded with the NPRA.
What we have are in bonds. The bonds are just instruments locked up somewhere. But because they are being, it yields dividends at the end of a certain period, whatever has been accrued ought to have been transferred to our custodian bank. And that is what we have done. As at yesterday, 91 million had accrued out of the bonds that had been issued. And we have asked that it be sent to our custodian bank. And MPR has done just that.
Currently, over 200 pensioners are expected to retire at the end of this year. These pensioners have expressed concern about which banks are to manage their second-tier pension after they have retired. The General Secretary, David Ofore Champon, has asked the Bank of Ghana to list banks which are credible for their investments.
We, as a trust board, will be asking Bank of Ghana to give us certain details of banks who have met the requirement as at a certain period of time, so that as we go forward and we'll make decisions as to where to place our monies, we'll be able to insist to our fund managers that put our monies in these specific banks and not in any bank at all.
In another development, the association has asked the Ministry of Education to engage all teachers before rolling out its insurance policy.
The deductions have ceased. SIC and GES are going to use their own communication channels to move over to the teachers and talk to them, and those who are interested would then apply and then be hooked onto the program. My understanding is that the program is not going to take place anytime soon, but somewhere beginning of next year, 2019.
The leadership of NAT has since implored its members to remain resolute and monitor investment on their pension funds.
Let's turn to some stories on healthcare this evening, as findings by the Ghana Statistical Service in 2017 says 79% of women, as against 54% in 2007, delivered safely in health facilities. The findings again highlighted that 1 out of 5 births or stillbirths are delivered in homes without proper medical care. Acting government statistician Ban Wadia, who spoke at the official launch of the document, stressed that funding must be increased to reduce maternal deaths.
The 2017 Ghana Maternal Health Survey also indicated that women in Ghana have an average of 3.9% of children. It again emphasized that fertility has declined from 6.4% in children per woman in 1988 to 3.9% due to improved health facilities. It again showed that 1 in 4 married women use modern method of family planning to control childbearing. However, the findings cited 24% of women who die from childbirth due to infection, while 45% of them die through other complications. The whole survey said that 7% of women seek herbal and spiritual treatment during pregnancy, which results in death. Acting government statistician Ban Wadia urged the Ministry of Health to ensure that the 310 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2017 will be reduced to 203 deaths per 100,000 live births by 2030.
Completing the survey and presenting the results is only part of the process of measures aimed at improving maternal health in Ghana. We need to make sure that the survey findings are utilized for decision-making by health professionals at the national, regional, district, and community levels, as well as by researchers, policymakers, and politicians.
The European Union has provided 1.7 million euros to help address the problems and improve on health facilities. Deputy Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Gloria Kwansa, spoke about new initiatives to deal with maternal deaths.
The Sustainable Development Goal target is 70 per 100,000 for every country this time. The 203 may be a realistic estimate looking at our resources.
The survey findings are expected to be presented to the Ministry of Health to develop policy papers for prompt implementation.
Still live here on News 360. Now, we've got all the latest of news coming up from the world of sport shortly. Stay with us.
Tonight on entertainment, we'll start with the movies. The Kenyan movie industry has experienced significant growth in diverse ways. This was instigated by pioneers of the arts and entertainment industry, while worth celebrating through appreciation of their works. Today on Throwback, will dig deep into the archives of yesteryears and put the spotlight on one of the most popular movies from the early 90s, Kanana.
Kanana is a hilarious movie from the early 90s of two men, B.K. Afando and Kweku Crankson, who delighted viewers with the Apache and Akata roles they played with perfection. The lessons and values of hard work, or rather, what the lack of hard work can do to a lazy mind who always wants to cut corners to riches. They were banished from the town of their birth for stealing, but that was not lesson enough for them. They later found themselves in a new town and repeated their trickery, which brought pain and shame to them in the end. Even though it was produced in 1992, the lessons of Kanana still remain relevant in recent time for the country's youth, some of whom have now adopted internet fraud as a new Apache and Akata model of creating wealth.
Now, the biggest street art festival in Ghana, Chalewote, has kicked off at Jamestown in Accra. The week-long event will end on Sunday, August 26th. Activities include street painting, photo exhibitions, live street performances, African film shows, street boxing, and fashion parade. The event, which will be climaxed on Saturday, has been the catalyst for the growth of the creative and art industry. The festival has inspired possibilities in public space design through community-supported cultural productions. There will be security to ensure the safety of patrons at the event, which is expected to draw some 30,000 participants. On the international scene for entertainment, Stevie Wonder, Jennifer Hudson, Yolanda Adams, and Jennifer Holliday will be among those performing at Aretha Franklin's funeral. A source close to the family has revealed. The funeral is set to take place on August 31st, 2018, at the Greater Grace Temple in Detroit. Public viewing will be on August 28th and 29th at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit. The singer's publicist, Gwendolyn Quinn, told CNN the legendary soul singer died last week after a battle with pancreatic cancer. She was 76.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you were at Chalewote last year, were you?
Yeah, I was. I think it's something that we're not celebrating very well because it's a clear exhibition of art. I don't know how well the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture are involved in this. Okay, it's a private initiative.
I mean, if publicity is anything to go by, last year got a lot of it.
Absolutely.
From, radio, television to social media was very active even during the events. If it continues like that, it should grow to be a very big, very, very big event.
Yes, it has to be. It's something that has to be.
Exhibition of talent, it should be supported. Yeah.
Get the blessing of the people who need it.
Absolutely. Let's round up with a look at another top story this evening. As the Director of Communications at the National Disaster Management Authority, NADMO, George Kwadwo AC, says the authority has the capacity to only manage the effect of the spillage from the Bagri Dam on the people who farm along the banks of the Volta River. According to him, NADMO cannot go beyond its mandates to provide long-lasting solutions to the problems caused by floods from the Bagri Dam spillage. Here's a report by Godfred Tanam.
Thousands of people living along the banks of the Black and White Volta will be affected when the Bagri Dam, currently nearing its maximum level of 235 meters, is spilled. The dam was initially built to be spilled in the first week of September, but this is yet to take effect. The water level in the dam had risen to 233.76 meters, representing about 80% of its watermark, and thus making it necessary for action to be taken before any unfortunate eventuality. The National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, is on the grounds to manage the situation in order to avert destruction of lives and property.
Sent a team of 25 people led by the Deputy Director General Operations, Abu Ramadan, to the place. They pitched camp at Wali Wali and Zabila. For now, they are psyching the people up and preparing them, sensitizing them that this is what is going to happen.
Well, thank you for spending 60 minutes with us here on News 360. On behalf of the rest of the team, we're grateful. There's more news on 3news.com. My name is Alfred Akansi.
I'm Natalie Fort. Thanks so much for watching. Have an incredible evening.